No, I'm not a con artist. I'm not fake. My name is Jake. I'm the admin in some stocks. I'm gonna pause this. Alright, well, it seems like we're live. Yeah, the bottom charts are all the same, so we're only really going to be looking at the top two. Okay, cool. Alright, well, welcome everybody. We're going to give a few minutes before we get started. Let me remove that, and we'll let some people trickle in here. I didn't know that we were live yet. Apparently I've been live for a few minutes. That's still tinkering, getting used to YouTube software, so bear with me here. But we'll get started in a few minutes as more people come in. Let me turn the music down. We'll go ahead and get started in a few minutes, everybody. Let's give a few moments to let everybody trickle in, and then we will go ahead and get started. I used to live in the Central Valley. No, I'm from the Bay Area, though. I'm from the Bay Area, but I used to live in Fresno. That was not fun. If you're ever thinking about living in Fresno, don't. It was not fun. So go ahead, guys. What we'll do here is just, no, this isn't Brett. My name is JR. I'm an admin in Simba Stocks. I work very closely with Brett. If you guys have any tickers that you want to see and that you are curious about how we're looking at them as a group, go ahead and post them in the chat, and I will go ahead and review them. So let's go ahead and get started. As soon as you guys throw any tickers in the chat, we'll start reviewing the chart. So you guys know the drill. Throw as many charts in there, as many names in there that you want, as many time frames, and we'll get started. NIO. All right, let's do it. Okay, so NIO, this is a tough one, and I have a feeling, honestly, that a lot of the charts that we're going to look at are going to be tough like this, because NIO is just breaking down out of a range right here, and this is a pretty tough daily candle. I'm just going to turn the music off for now. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get everything just the speaker microphone lined up. Sorry. The music is turned off. We're turning it off. Give me a break. Okay, I'm just giving it a second to catch up. It should catch up. The music's off. So you should be able to hear me now. Alright, sweet. We're good now. You guys can hear me. Sorry, I took a second. It's going to be delayed a second. Sorry. Let's talk about NIO. Alright, we should be good now. So, NIO... This chart is going to look like a lot of the ones that we're going to see in general tonight, which is that we had a little bit of a previous support range, we gapped down, we broke that support range. So overall, I would be looking for us to head lower on NIO. If you look over here on the weekly, what this is ending up, this little area as a whole right here. Let's see, I'm trying to turn my mic up a little bit to make it louder, but it says it's on OBS, it says it's on max. Hopefully my mic volume picks up here in a second because I just turned it up, but I'll speak louder too. NIO would be a short setup for now. I think we need Sorry guys, I'm just trying to get the audio all working here. NIO, I'd be looking for some continuation down. The next area around 33 is where I'd be looking for it to stop. So let's go through. The music is back. Oh my God, where's the music coming from? Oh my God. Oh my God, I found it. Jesus. Okay. Now it's off. No, I'm turning it off. Turn the music off. I'm not dealing with it. The music is fully off. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Let's talk about something other than NIO. I don't really see a trade here for the meantime. This gap down on the weekly chart, I'm not entirely sure where we would go next on this. It could be at the point somewhere we could get a higher low in this area, but this up here is turning out to be a lower high. It's fixed now, is it not? Okay, there's no music now. Oh my god. I'm sorry that this was such a struggle, but I'm glad we went through this now as opposed to me doing the whole thing not knowing that we had music in the background, right? Like we got through the hard part. You're welcome, right? Welcome to the good life. We're here now. Let's talk stocks. PLTR. All right, PLTR. This one's another interesting one. Super strong weekly close last week, and it kind of looked like it was going to head back up above the $30 range, but today a gap under a green candle, and now not really sure where this one will go. This is another one where I think you kind of have to wait for more data. A lot of the charts that we'll see today are going to have big red daily candles, right, where they opened high, they off a gap down, especially under a gap down. Oh my god, you cannot see half the screen. You cannot see the right screen. All right, I'm just going to open the left one then, and that's all I care about. Why is this such a struggle today? All right, that's cool. They're the same chart anyways. The only thing I'm looking at is the daily or weekly time frame. So I look at the same, there's two charts of the same exact stock, okay? So PLTR, I think, is another one of these ones when you have a red candle that gaps under a green one on the daily chart, and especially one that goes up and retests and fills that gap, it's usually not a good sign. So PLTR, I kind of would be expecting us to continue to pull back a little bit, maybe to this lower 25.50 range. If the market continues down as a whole, this can see some lower prices. The only thing to watch out for, I wouldn't short this name or anything, but if you're long with shares, this might be a good time to sell some covered calls if we do get a bounce, right? So if we do get a bounce up towards the 28 area, then this would be a good place to sell covered calls. PLTR is one of those stocks. I actually hate trading this one in options. I just don't like the way it moves. I don't know. I could be alone on that, but with PLTR, yeah, covered calls are my favorite way to go for this one for sure. All right, let's do AMD because I know that one's been brought up a few times. AMD, yeah, this is another one. So this one is a gap down. I've had the same type of range on AMD that I've wanted since the beginning, which is a retest of this former all-time high area, right? So I do think it'll crack under 100. It would also be right under the open of this big daily bar breakup, right? So somewhere 95 to 97 is where I'll be interested in AMD. I bet if you were to pull a fib, there would be a fib level there too. So the AMD, if we flip over to the weekly, it'll look a little bit clearer, but I really want this area as a whole to be retested, right? If this area as a whole is retested and it holds there, then that would be a place where I'm interested in buying AMD long. And for now, I don't really, this one doesn't necessarily look like a short to me. See, here's the thing, with me in shorts today, you have to, not even me, you have to wait for some sort of bounce now, right? You can't enter any new shorts at these levels because the possibility for you to get run over by a face-ripping rally is just too high. So for now, until we develop a range and until we put in like a potential lower high, you can't really short and feel like comfortable about your positions. It's just, you won't feel good about it. So AMD is on long watch for now, but not until sub 100, right? The other thing to look for in AMD would be if it gets a super aggressive spike under 100, like goes down to like 97, 98 in like 1 or 2 5-minute candles, and then and then immediately reverses that. That's the kind of action I would be looking at to find like a bottom on AMD. I think that if you get a hard spike under that firm 100 level is combined, and I'm not talking like a fake, like I want like a $2 or $3 spike down. I want something significant. If you do that, combine that with a strong close that same day, then I think that could be a potential bottom for AMD as well. All right, let's do MU. Yeah, I don't really see anything to do with this chart for now. I do think that it will kind of drift its way back towards this previous resistance area, which is still untested after it broke through, right? So that would be down towards the 60 area. So if the market gets like a pretty strong correction, continuation, I should say, down from where we closed today, then on MU, I would be looking for us to sort of head lower. That being said, MU actually got bought up pretty well relative to a bunch of the other names out in the market, right? This is going to be a better looking daily candle than we saw for a lot of different names out there in the market. So if this daily candle actually holds and this starts to form a little bit of a low here, then MU could be a potential long. Now you do have to look, we do have this big channel that it's been trading in for a while, and I don't use trend lines very much, so this isn't going to be exact, but it's just a range that it's been trading in, right? So if we go up and set another lower high up here, then I would expect us to continue lower and come down and set a lower low. All right, shop, bruh. All right, bruh. Let's do shop. Yep. That's from a lesson. So that one's from a lesson. Let me change this drawing set. So shop is one of those interesting ones. Another setup where we had was a setup called a gap under green. And this is one of the better short setups in the market. And the reason I think that we got so much continuation today was because a continuation down was because a lot of stocks had this setup, which was a gap under green, right? Meaning that on Friday, where we closed, and because we closed green, by gapping under that, I think at open, a lot of a lot of longs sold for a loss and covered their position because they had stops below this range, right? So we ran a lot of stops. We then ran some short stops to the upside, closed flat. So with shop here, the key thing to watch out for is, does it get back into and above this 1450 area, which would kind of put it back in the previous range, or do we drift down and head down towards like this 1300? We haven't had a retest of this daily open since we broke above. So if we do continue down, ultimately I think 1300 area would be the place to like expect shop to stop. If we get down to 1300 and get some bullish daily candles, then I might be looking to go long, because I could see this thing looking kind of nice. If we flip to the weekly, yeah, about 1300 would be a lower high, right? So this would kind of be like a failed breakout. Although I don't know, man. I think that this could hold here. I think that we really got to watch out for this to potentially hold here and move higher. So I'm gonna get my water. So I like shop. I think that you kind of got to wait and see. A lot of these names will be in the middle of nowhere, right? That's what we talked about in the beginning, is that a lot of these names will just be in the middle of necessarily like nowhere, right? That we don't know, they're not at support yet, but they're also far away from resistance. So they're just kind of in the middle of these ranges. So shop, you got to see how the market does overall, but lower, I would be looking for that 1300 to the upside, get back above 1500, and I'm interested in longs. All right, Apple. I've seen Apple a few times. Let me get a clean drawing set on Apple. Look at these old buy zones I had on Apple. The old buy zones I had. Oh my God, I'm getting text. Fucking spammers now asking me for Bitcoin over text message. Apple is the kind of one, this one does not look pretty, right? We did have a pretty decent daily support area that we were trading and that we were that was being protected, right? It was being defended at every opportunity for bears to break it down. We had an aggressive sell down from all-time highs, kind of a failed breakout of this triangle, right? Or this little flag that we had here. We kind of had that little, that's a terrible trend line. Again, I don't use trend lines, guys, so this is all new to me. But we kind of had this breakout, right? This failed breakout and then this pullback, but now we've lost daily support. So I honestly don't, yeah, I did sip on an empty can, fuck off. I honestly don't know where Apple heads from here. I would say that really we should be looking in this 136 area, right? Like if tech continues to show weakness, you'll see a similarity in a lot of these charts, right? Which is that we gapped under support. Like this gap wasn't It's not like we gapped down right into support. Like we gapped under, we retested support, and we closed red, right? Those are like not the things that we would have wanted to see Apple do if it was bullish, right? So for me, unless it can get back above 145 and get back into this previous range, then I'm going to be looking at like the 135 area for Apple at the least. I think it can trade lower, mainly just because this move up was like really almost parabolic, right? Like whenever a move up like that is, for lack of a better term, is parabolic, like Apple, a trillion, or what's it called? Literally a $2 trillion company, right? Going up 15% in the matter of a few weeks is not normal. So when something that's that extended, it's not surprising that we're going to see people taking profits. The other thing is that, again, I'm not huge on the trend lines, but you can see there's one right about here, right? So if Apple were to pull back towards this 135 area, that would also line up, pretty cleanly with this trend line over here, right? So in order to take an Apple short, I think you have to wait until we get a bounce a little bit. But after a bounce, if you take Apple short, and we see continued weakness in tech, I would be looking for about 135, 136, right? The middle end of this range. All right, someone keeps typing Netflix like 1,000 times. Guys, I see all of your ones. I'm gonna answer all of them, right? So you don't have to put the same one 100 times and act like I didn't see it. I promise you, I'm gonna answer every single one. I will not exit this call until every single one is answered. Don't hold me to that. Okay. So Netflix here is interesting. Netflix opened up today as my top long watch because it was one of the strongest stocks out there. It was gapping down the least relative to everything else. So if I wanted to buy a scalp long at the open, Netflix was one of the first things I was watching. However, it had a pretty weak first 5-minute candle and then immediate sell side following that, right? So really nothing special going on with Netflix on the intraday chart. This weekly, I think, needs a bit more of a pullback. I think we could see down to like maybe the 550 area, right? Netflix is one of those ones where on the weekly we had this strong breakout of a long range, right? And so as we broke out of this range, it's kind of looking like we failed that breakout a little bit. And so maybe I would expect a pullback into the range. Now, what's interesting about Netflix, earnings are coming up. They're not too far away, right? If you look at this Netflix chart, and you look at how it looks when it's a long bull flag that broke out of a range, then let's look at Amazon's chart. Amazon's weekly had something very similar, right? It broke out of this long range in this bull flag, and then it pulled back, right? And into earnings, it just had pulled back a little bit. So Netflix is only about this second weekly candle pullback. That's where Netflix is right now. Then as Amazon had earnings, because it had that failed breakout of range, I don't care how the earnings actually did, the failed breakout of the range, I think, led Amazon into a strong pullback towards the lower end of the range and now a bounce, right? So what does that mean for Netflix? I think that if the market continues to show weakness, Netflix might be a really nice short back to the bottom end of its previous range, which would be about that 520, 530 area. So Netflix Lotto earnings shorts are for sure on the table depending on how this weekly chart plays out. So let me go back and finish up Amazon because I saw that one in there. Yeah, Amazon, I actually am more bullish on Amazon than most people just because the weekly, I think, has put in a higher low here that I think will hold. So now it's just a matter of a question of when does the next higher low come, right? So if it breaks down below 3,200, then I think you can confidently say that we're going to be heading lower. But before that, I'm looking for any sort of bullish price action here that will give me like a hammer or something, right? Something that I can take a long off of on the weekly chart back up to all-time highs. So I'm not looking for anything crazy. Just give me like a hammer that closes green. That's a key thing for me, and it trapped me because I broke my own rules and took a red hammer last week on Amazon without waiting for confirmation of it breaking over. But break over that, get a green hammer that breaks over a previous candle's high, and I'm long Amazon. But until then, I think that you got to play it short. You don't necessarily have to enter it short, but if you are short, you can hold that short, aiming down for this like 3,200 area where we have that weekly trend line, right? Especially if the market continues to hold up as weak. If the market continues to be weak, then shorts on Amazon are on the table. Yeah, that Netflix would be a fire play, honestly. If that Netflix really did get that big of a pullback, hell yeah, that would be a fire play. All right, let me check out Wynn. Seen that one posted a few times. Oh god, this is ugly. I mean, it just filled a weekly gap right here, so like I guess that could be bullish, and it held up decent today compared to a bunch of other names in the market, but I don't know, man. You got to ask yourself, like, you see this big ass red daily candle here, you just have to ask yourself, like, is this name going to be able to overcome that easily, right? Like, what kind of candle setup would we need in order to have a bounce here that would make sense? Like, you know, like this daily candle would have to pretty much, I don't know. It would have to be very, very bullish and very, very bullish right into a very strong bearish candle. So I think you got to sit on your hands and wait for Wynn. But I think that, I don't know. I mean, I think you could trade this down to the 70 range where it has some support. So if we do get some sort of bearish trigger, like a candle that closes like this, and then the next one breaks below its low, I think you can take a short on that break and target down to like the 70 range, and that would be like a nice. That ended up being like a nice, like a $10 short, right? And you could probably risk against the high of this bar, which if it stays around here would be about 83. Granted, there's a lot of time left in this week for this candle to close, but that's the data that we have right now, right? All right. See UPST. I have a lotto long in UPST. So we're looking at the weekly chart right here. I strictly based off the weekly chart, I don't think this one is done yet. The way that this candle closed, I think that this candle, this week's candle in UPST will either be an inside bar, meaning that it'll just stay fully inside this previous candle's range, or I think it'll break up towards like 320. I think if the market gets a dead cat bounce, then, which it should, right? Everything can't go selling straight down. We sold off hard today. It wouldn't surprise me if we get at least a dead cat bounce or possibly a full reversal. I don't know. Then what I would expect for UPST is to be one of the strongest names out there, catching up and taking out this 308.78. So I took lotto longs on UPST, which is, you know, super risky because it's super counter trend. The market is super weak right now, but this is my favorite long chart in the market. We go to the daily chart. We had this strong. I mean, if you look at this chart compared to all of the other charts in the market, this one gapped under green, but really held up super well, right? Relative to all these other charts out there that just sold off and were weak and had no strength intraday. The buyers were hot here, so it would not surprise me if we get a little bit of a gap up and then a strong push tomorrow to fresh all-time highs. So UPSD is definitely on watch. All right, so with everything going on, China, Fed bill, speaking Wednesday, etc., what's your overall view in the market? I don't care about anything that you just listed, China, bill, Fed speaking, etc., because I try not to trade during those times when the Fed is speaking. I'll do NIO again, don't worry, bro. I'll just scan through it real quick for you. Because when I was doing that when we were having technical difficulties, guys, he wasn't here for the technical difficulties. Give him a break, all right? Give him a break. Give him a break. But I don't care about what's going on outside of the chart itself. I just don't, right? So I after the fact, I'll pay attention to the Fed meeting and I'll pay attention to like the tapering and all that stuff because I think that could be meaningful. But at the same time, the chart will show us exactly whether it's meaningful or not, right? Like there's nothing that those sentences can tell me that the chart won't also tell me. That being said, well, let's look at SPY a little bit. It's hard to be bullish. Okay, see, this is tough, right? Because you look at the SPY daily candle. I don't know. I could honestly see that being a potential bottom, right? Like I think that in hindsight, shorting over the weekend was a great decision. I got to give Brett a ton of credit for holding through on Tesla and some of these other shorts. I mean, 100, 200, 300, 400%, that it was gnarly, right? So I got to give him a lot of credit. That being said, I think we all can agree, and I think, you know, he took a lot of shorts off for a reason today. We got a really big move down. And at the very least, to reshort, you got to wait for a bounce. But if you're just looking at the SPY daily candles, if your only analysis is these SPY daily candles, nothing else, you don't care about the Fed, you don't care about any news, earnings, blah, blah, which is how I trade, could this be a potential reversal spot? For sure, right? We did gap under this swing low, which is not great, right? Considering that that was acting as a higher low, but this was off a 2-day, 2-bar pullback, right? So how significant of a higher low is that when we were 2 days off from all-time highs when we got that pullback, right? It really wasn't super significant, right? This, I would say, would be the more important higher low, and we held that, right? And then if you flip to the weekly chart, we never breached the higher low on the weekly chart at all, right? We're still at a pretty good spot, actually, and we held the 100-day moving average, so I don't know. I think you have to be cautious right now in both directions. I think you have to trade small. That's something that I did have a couple longs over the weekend, along with some shorts, right? So I had more shorts, but I had a couple of long spreads. Those got roasted, but those were super small size. Even my shorts, truthfully, were super small size. Everything I had, I'm better at trading the market when I'm long and it's going up. So everything I had over the past week has been small size. So I think you continue to make big small size, and then either what is going to happen here is it could go up to fill this gap. That's not off the table, but this was a pretty big gap down, and usually things don't just reverse right back up and fill that gap. So I'm not looking for that to go fill that gap right now. I think we do kind of have to base off and kind of to base out for a few days before looking for a rally up. That being said, the line in the sand as of now for me is this 437 area, right? Today's high, right? If you get us over today's high, then, technically these daily candles, I wouldn't expect a gap fill in one day, but look what happened here, right? Look what happened here. We just, these moves come quickly. What more I would be looking for in something is something like this. A little bit of a range developing where we kind of have a base day, right? A couple of days where we rally up, set a lower high, pull back. Then it's on that pullback where we decide what happens next, right? On that pullback, if we get a higher low and some sort of buying action, then for sure, then that's the spot where I'm really interested in longs. But for now, you kind of have to just sit back on your hands and wait a little bit because you don't want to be caught with your pants down in either direction, right? I think that we could see a face-ripping rally to the upside. Like right now, if we look at futures, I believe they're up and doing well, right? So we're kind of pumping a little bit, right? Let me get my right style of chart. So I could see us, truthfully, I could see this being the low. We swept under 4,300 and had a really strong bounce. So don't be in a super rush to reshort, in my opinion. I think that you can afford to sit back and wait a little bit and enjoy the profits that we had from fucking Brett shorting the shit out of everything earlier today. That being said, from a pure levels perspective, there's a little hiccup here at 43.97. That's it, though, in terms of upside resistance, right? We do have a level at the open right here, 43.54. We are now over that in the after hours. So up to 43.80 and 43.97, but 43.80 is actually not a level based on the system that I use, and it's interesting that level never actually traded in the cash session today. So based on that, the only thing I'm looking for is above this. We can go and trade towards this 43.98, right? And I think that would be a really interesting and strong move that it would make me ask the question, should I be short right now when we in a matter of a day, we're from 4,300 back up to 4,400, right? So if we do get back to 4,400, I think exercise a little bit of caution and really wait for extra confirmation for downside potential. All right, I just talked a lot about the SPY. I do that sometimes. I rant. This is my show right now, though, so I can do whatever the hell I want. So I'm gonna rant. All right, let's see. What other ones we got in there? Post more names, guys. I think I've covered a lot of ones that you've posted, or I've missed some of them. So now you can repost them. Now I'm giving you permission to repost them. Good idea to have hedges on QQQ and SPY. Not right now. No, I think that right now you got to wait and see on the QQQ and SPY. I think you should have taken your hedges off and sold those for a nice profit. I mean, if you're super long, then yeah, you should have hedges. But other than that, I wouldn't necessarily have hedges right now. What else we got? TAN. What's this TAN one? Never seen this name before. Let's see. TAN. This one's kind of interesting. I mean, what is this? Is solar ETF? Oh, okay. This is the solar ETF. I like this one a lot for long-term shares. I think you just buy this one in shares. Don't trade this short-term with options. Just buy shares with TAN and hold, because I am a huge, huge believer in solar. I don't know where this trend line's going. It doesn't have anything yet. I'm a huge, huge believer in solar. So I like to play the individual names. The individual names in solar would be like Sedge, which actually held up pretty nicely today. ENPH, which got murdered a little bit today. Yeah, you know, that's a nice lower high on the weekly right there. Where did the music come from? Wasn't the music off? What the fuck? So you guys can't hear me. You can hear me. I don't have any music on. I don't know where it's coming from. I'm sorry. Alright, well, moving on. As long as you guys can hear me. It sounded like you can hear me because people were saying thanks. Okay. Hood and Baba. I'm sorry, I missed Hood and Baba. Let's knock those ones out. Yeah, I don't really know what to do with Hood right now. Okay, cool. The music is off. All right, we're good. I see that now. I don't really know what to do with Hood. The weekly's kind of actually forming a little bit of like a weird flag, right? Trying to look at this in a better light, but this is just, I mean, you can't really see it that well because of the way the chart looks, but I mean, look at this, like, look at this falling wedge I found. I mean, Hood doesn't look bad. I mean, I'm actually a believer in them long term. I think that regardless of whether you like them or not, I think that I agree with Brett on this. I think his take is good. That they're too big right now in terms of like they're first to market, right? So like if they're first to market, then they're gonna have the advantage over all other free brokerages. Like every one of my friends still is like, I have a Robinhood account, blah blah blah. So like Hood, I like. I'm looking for the if you wanted to long shares here, I think that would be a good call. I don't know any options right now. Yeah, let's do mRNA and then we'll come back to Baba. mRNA is a tough one because it's like weirdly strong but also weirdly weak at the same time. It didn't get a gap under this Friday's support levels and such today, so it didn't get that move down as like some of the other names out there, but this is proving to be a lower high right now, right? So like until we can at the very least, let me get rid of that. Until we can at the very least get back over this area, that 440s area, until we get back over 440s, mRNA is a short in my opinion. And you can just use a stop above there, right? Now, with this one, you have to size it right because that stop, your contracts could be at 0 by the time that stop hits. But if you size it right and this one does hit and it was back down to like 380s, you're going to catch like a 40 or $50 move to the downside. So mRNA, I still like the short overall on it. I would just make sure you have your mental stop above like 440, right? Any daily close above 440, I would probably close the puts. That's how I would manage it. I don't know. Maybe 445. That seems reasonable. BNGO, I have no interest in this chart. This chart looks like crap. If you're holding long-term shares of this stock, I would just keep holding them. Let me get back to just the big one. If you're just holding shares of this stock, there's no reason to sell. I don't even remember when I drew that trend line. That was from probably the last time that I did the Monday stock reviews. Probably last time we fucking looked at BNGO. But this weekly chart is still just hanging out here, right? I don't know. No interest in trading this chart in the short term, though. So this is, again, right now you're looking for the best. You're looking for good charts, not just when the market's at all-time highs, but always, constantly. You want to be trading the charts that look the best and have the most opportunity. I don't see much opportunity in BNGO, but it is reminding me to check on Plug, my other small cap, which actually held up pretty well today and has a nice weekly hammer there. So this one is similar to BNGO in the sense that there's nothing to do immediately, but I am going to be watching Plug because as soon as it gets back over this 35 area, then I think it can start to head back up towards 50s, 60s, 70s pretty quickly. So I like Plug. I like Plug way more than BNGO. All right, let's do PFE. Oh, this is a tough chart. I don't really know what you would want to do with this one yet. That being said, if it can flip here and start to trend, then we can maybe make a move up towards 47. This is an interesting. It's interesting where it pulled back to and where it stopped, right? Because this is the area based on what we were looking earlier. This is where I would be looking for it to have stopped and pulled back. We didn't quite tag that level, and I think that this might need another sweep lower. But if this general area of 43 holds, I could see you making a good case for longing here. I don't think the vaccine shit is going away anytime soon. So PFE has potential. It's not my favorite, but I like this one. I think you could make something happen out of it. I don't know how people trade PFE with options though. Like these names that are so cheap, I just would think shares. I mean, I guess you can do super cheap options too, but they're tiny, you know. All right, let's see. AMT. I've seen AMT a few times. Sorry that it took me a second to get to that. AMT, so no, this one looks just like Shop, right? Like, if you are somebody who doesn't believe that technical analysis and patterns mean anything, look at this AMT and how it had this very similar range, a gap under that range within a little doji, not really telling us what to do next. That's exactly how Shop looks, right? Literally, they look so similar that it's crazy to me. And those are two companies that do two totally different things, right? So it's technicals are crazy, man. Once you get an understanding of these candles, you can do anything. So, but back to AMT. I don't really know what. There's not same with Shop here. You gotta kind of wait on this one, right? American Tower Corp. I don't know what they do. That being said, this is one of the stronger charts in the market. So if we flip this over to a weekly chart, if we get a hammer here, that's a green hammer that starts to go green and push up a little bit over 295, and it holds, I'm interested in longs to take out this high right here, right? That being said, this could be a potential top. This thing has been moving pretty strongly. But I don't think so. I think that anywhere in this 280s to 290 areas will be a 275 to 285, 290 area will be a weekly high or low pullback, right? And then we'll be able to push up towards the 310 area. KPLT. Dude, I mean, honestly, is there even anything to do on this chart ever since we made... Since Now Your Father's Broker made like 600%, that was fucking nuts. That was nuts. But yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know if there's anything to do on this chart, right? Because we kind of went up and we didn't. I don't know if we technically filled the gap or not, but there's we saw some heavy resistance there, and this kind of looks like it's forming a cup and handle. So really, what I would be looking for is look for a candle that breaks and closes above its previous day's high, and on that day, you can look for a potential swing entry. So as this is pulling back, if it stays diagonal a little bit and holds above 570, and then triggers some sort of daily setup where it breaks and closes above the previous day's highs, then I could see something here breaking up towards the upper end of the range. That being said, if we look at this on a weekly chart, this is a tough candle to overcome, right? This is like a strong bear flag, so it will have hard resistance at the 940s area, which would be a great trade if it got up there. But how does it get up there? I don't know. I think it's just as likely that we head down and retest this like 4.0 area gap, especially if the market's weak. Nice part is though, you can just raise your stop on this to right below that wick at like 570. Below 570, any acceptance and strong action below 570 should get continuation down, because if that's an inside bar, that's how the pattern works. So if that does happen, that's when I would close all of your runners and be fully out of the trade. That being said, this one, I mean, we bought before the big breakup candle, so like everyone should be either out or on runners on this one for sure. Yes, I'm sorry. Let me do Baba. Oh yeah, I'm not really interested in Alibaba. If you like the company and you want to buy shares, then if you like the company and you want to do shares, then you can. But other than that, I wouldn't be buying any options on Alibaba. To me, this chart is weak. This chart needs some more downside before it can really. I don't know. I mean, I honestly think it might be headed to 130. I don't know. I think it could go that low. And I think you can buy shares the whole way, but I mean, the way this thing is trading, it really looks like it wants to break down below. Now, if it gets a hammer here on this weekly candle right here, right now, I'm more interested in it, because what that will have done is swept below the previous this low that wasn't a strong enough low to hold. But now, if you get a sweep below and a strong hammer above, that could act as a double bottom and could give us some potential upside there, and maybe even a trend flip on Baba. So realistically, though, I just don't know how low this thing can go, right? And I don't know what's happening in China that would make this thing, super appealing to anybody. I honestly think that you keep Baba on short watch more than anything. So let's see. SoFi. I don't know. Is SoFi like the investors, whatever people? Wait, whoa, what was that other one? SFI. What is this, and why is it trading at all-time highs? Oh, it's not. Okay. That's weird. Yeah, this chart is just ranging. I mean, I'm not really super interested at this point. If you're holding long-term shares, I would just hold it. It has pretty strong support in this 13 area. If it were to break below that, down here's towards the $12 area, it would have some support. But in terms of like options and active swing trades and stuff, nothing really. Again, you have to look at where is there the most opportunity for me to make money on an intraday trade. Is it on this SoFi chart? And based on what I'm seeing on this chart, the answer is nah, right? Like there's just nothing here that gives you an edge. There's nothing here that like would give you an edge over other traders for you to make money off of, right? And so in order for you to make money and do well, you need to have that edge, and I don't think we have that here. So I'm going to sit out on SoFi for now. Let's see. LCID. SoFi shares might be a good one, though. LCID. Whoa. Whoa. Look at this. Look at the strength today. Holy crap. Why is this so strong? It gapped down and it closed at highs. Why is this so strong? This looks good. I mean, if you need strong names, this one looks good. Now, granted, we still have some, I mean, I don't know, we got closes over low highs. We still have some daily areas to flip. I think over 25 we'll get a little bit more of a confirmed trend flip, but I mean, this weekly chart looks pretty damn good. And the thing is, now, you'll see a lot of weekly charts that look like this, right? Let's go back and let's look at Plug. Plug has already done this once where it had that big spike down, right? After a strong move down, it looked really good to get a rocket back up, but it's stuck in the range, right? So LCID, it's not crazy to think that we'll get up here towards 30, put in some sort of weekly candle that shows weakness, and then start to trend back down a little bit. That being said, if you're looking for strong names, this strong name is strong relative to how the market as a whole performed today, up 4.8%. I mean, that's not bad. The other name that I saw that was green today, so LCID, I mean, let me get to an hourly. I would like to give you all some exact levels to watch here. LCID, the big one is this flip over at, yeah, it's 24.98, so 25. At $25 above that, LCID really has some potential to run. Up and towards, I mean, above 25, I think that you could see fairly quickly, with a few hiccups along the way, we could see that 27.84 area. Pretty, yeah, so this one's on watch. Whoever picked this one out, I see you. Good shit. All right, and the other one that was green today that showed some strength was AZN. I mean, this one must be a vaccine name or something. I think they are a vaccine name. So the hour, let's see the hourly. Let's start on the weekly. Weekly looks pretty damn good. This looks like a little bit of a cup and handle, and we definitely also have a bull flag going on here. So we're getting to the upper end of the range, so you can't long anything here, right? You have to wait either for a breakout or a pullback towards the lower end of the range, or it's just for scalps right now. But once this one is also on watch for sure above this 60 area, this one can. This one I think can see a nice breakout. So AZN, this one's one of my favorites. If you're like making a list of like Jake's favorites, which I think like that's a wonderful idea, Jake's favorites, I would be looking for a break above 60 area on AZN, and you could even call it 61 to be safe. I think that could send this thing up trending up towards to sweep this high at 65. I don't know if that's not all going to happen this week. It's going to take a lot of daily candles to make that happen. But in general, that's on watch. What's your favorite chart so far? UPST is my favorite chart so far. I think that UPST is going to take out this 308.78 tomorrow, and that would be about a $15-ish move, depending on where we open and where we pull back to, because UPST likes to pull back at the open. But this is my favorite one right now. I think that the relative strength that it displayed today, like if the market was truly weak and going to sell off like really strong, this should have pulled back to like 280s, and instead it was pushing up and like retesting 300, right? So like, I don't know if you look, I mean, it was strong today. It was very, very strong. So this one's my favorite chart so far. All right, let's see. Uber and pins. Next time I'll figure out how to do music on a lower volume so it's not just me in the background. Uber, I don't really have any interest in. I think that this weekly still wants to head a little bit lower. If you want to, really what you should just do is check Uber on Friday every week. Wait for a daily candle, or excuse me, on a weekly candle that breaks and closes above the previous candle's high. And in this particular instance, that will never just work randomly when you do it, but when the chart pattern lines up with it, that's a good strategy for saying, hey, I should pay attention to the stock now. Once Uber gets two of those strong weekly candles in a row, it will probably mean that it's closing at like 42. Then that could potentially trigger it back up to 50. Until then, I think this thing just stays sideways. If you're holding long-term shares and you believe in the company, that's great. I'm a DoorDash person. I don't like Uber Eats, and I think that DoorDash took their market really quickly. I think that Lyft can take a good chunk. So, I don't know. I think you can hold the long-term shares of them, but I'm not interested in anything shorter term on them. And then Pinterest. Yeah, this one's tough. It doesn't look good, right? Like, it's like, I don't know, right? Like if you're just looking at like keeping it simple and trying to figure out like where would this chart go next if just based off the candles, probably lower, right? Like there's nothing to indicate anything else otherwise. So same play here on look for a buy setup of sorts where we break and close above a previous candle's high. That would definitely give us some opportunity to make that move back up. But until then, I think you just kind of got to wait. Maybe pins gets down to 50. Maybe it just goes and slaps through 50 and does like a big spike through down there. That would make sense to me, right? If pins has never retested 50 since it broke above, really, right? Except this little wick, right? Expect something that just sort of crawls to the side and just spikes through heavily and then gets bought right back up, right? Right below 50. It won't go all the way down that far. This is a bad drawing, but you get the picture. All right. Let's see. Are there any other charts? I think that I've covered most of them. We're coming up on an hour, although I started a few minutes late. But let me know the last few charts. We'll scan the last few ones of them. Oh, I see Chewy in there. I haven't done that one yet. Chewy, this is a tough daily candle. Remember when I was talking earlier about how like when weekly candles are strong and have big red like that, like a big red bearish bar like that, it's tough for those to overcome right away. So there was a lot of people who felt the urge to buy the dip on Chewy right away, and it's like, why, right? Like there's no urgency to buy this dip because it's very rare that something's going to reverse it that strongly. It's okay. You can ask as many tickers as you want. I'll probably do like 5 or 10 more, and then I'll call it a night. This one had pulled back, right? But like, see how strong this red daily bar is? Like, it's not common that this is going to get reversed right away. So this based out for a few bars, had a nice little green candle there, and with a long tail. So if this starts to hold, and if this candle breaks and closes above this bar's high, we could start to get some traction back to the upside. However, it's going to take some time for Chewy to get back to like the upper levels that it was at. This is not going to V, right? This is not going to V back up to 85 or 90. It's just not a setup to do that. So no real immediate interest on anything super soon on Chewy. SQ was another one that was kind of shockingly strong today, right? Like it closed green when everything else closed, red. I think the 200-day moving average is somewhere around here. So Square is definitely on watch for if we need calls for the rest of the week. I think that the weekly chart, it's interesting how the weekly chart had a really strong green hammer, but then now had a gap down. So we got to wait and see how this one plays out a little bit. But I think you can take longs against, again, knowing what we know about the market conditions as a whole, meaning that all of your longs should be small and all that, blah, blah, blah. I think you could take longs against this low at like 244, 245. Yeah, so I like SQ there for sure. All right, let's see what else we got. OCGN and SunW. I'm gonna warn you. I don't think I trade either of these names. Yeah, I have no interest in SunW. No interest in OCGN. Yeah, they're just not names that I really trade. I think that OCGN, is that the one that had that like crazy news spike? Yeah. That could happen. I don't know. I don't know. These two charts don't. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything to do on these charts. So I'm sorry. I don't mean to be giving you like a lack of opinion or anything. It's just there's no trade here, right? So like, there's no good high quality trade that you could take right here. Maybe if you have shares, you could wait and buy more, maybe. But I don't know. If a company trades up to 30 and then spikes all the way back down to 6, I think it's more likely that it starts to look like this OCGN chart from 3 years ago that traded up to 85 and then went all the way down, right? Like, this is not like a super bullish chart. This is the kind of thing where like if this gets a pump one day, I would kind of be looking to short it for the long term, honestly, depending on where it closes and all that. But yes, sir. All right. So with that, I think we're just gonna give it just a few more minutes, give the last few questions, but it's getting close to dinner time for me. So I appreciate you all hopping in here, looking at some charts and shit. Please remember, like and subscribe. It's super helpful for the YouTube algorithm for us to grow. So if you guys just liking and subscribing, that's a huge, huge help to us. So I really, really appreciate that. Tomorrow morning, for all of you who are either in Simba Stocks members or you came from Simba Stocks social media, whatever, I am hosting a webinar, an educational webinar tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific. I'm Pacific, that's nuts. But at hosting a webinar tomorrow morning, it's going to be some general, very basic stock market information, and we'll just cover some basic stuff. And then a big chunk of it is going to be like a pre-market webinar of me kind of breaking down what I'm looking at, what my plan is, all that. So please feel free to join that webinar for free. We'll make sure to post the link in the room if you're in there. If you're not in there, go look at Simba Stock's Instagram page and you'll find it in there. So, all right, everybody. Appreciate you all, and I'll see you all in the chat. Peace.